Welcome to the Deep Dive.
Your sources this week, well, they've got us laser focused on Jerez, the MotoGP race there. And it's clear this isn't just, another race weekend.
No, definitely not. Your materials really hammer home that Jerez is, well, it's the heartland, Spanish motorcycling mecca. It's got this incredible vibe, almost like a festival.
Totally. And the scale of it, one source mentioned 50,000 fans packed into just one corner.
Paluqui.
Yeah, Paluqui Corner. Imagine that. It's like a football stadium just for bikes. That tells you straight away this race means something more. It's way beyond just points on a board.
Right, it's cultural, but it's not just the history, is it? Your insights also show a season that's, well, it's completely shaken up expectations.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, who honestly predicted MARQUEZ leading the championship right now and his brother Alex being so consistently fast?
Exactly. It throws all those preseason predictions, right out the window.
And it really highlights that classic MotoGP unpredictability, doesn't it? Nothing's ever set in stone. The whole pecking order can just flip.
Just like that. Months ago, the idea of Mark finding his feet so fast on the Ducati and Alex being right up there too, that just wasn't the common thinking.
But that's what makes it so exciting to watch, I guess.
For sure. It's that element of surprise.
Which leads us nicely into the main point of this deep dive. Because now we've got Marc Marquez and Pecco Bagnaia on identical Ducati GP24s.
The same weapon.
So Jerez this weekend. This feels like the moment we finally get a clearer answer to that question from last year, right? What was the real difference between them when Marc was on the older GP23?
Exactly. Think about it last year at Jerez. Marc rode incredibly well. Many thought, on a bike that wasn't quite the latest spec.
Right.
Now, that equipment difference is pretty much gone. So we're about to see, well, a much more direct comparison. Raw talent, racecraft, head-to-head.
It's not just who wins, but how they win. Or lose.
Precisely. That's the fascinating part. Okay. And for everyone listening, our goal here isn't just to give you the race results. We want to get underneath that, look at the stakes, the key moments within the race, and figure out what this weekend really means for the rest of the season.
Yeah, the bigger picture.
So let's start with Jerez itself, that unique feel. Your sources mentioned a deep emotional connection too.
Yes, very much so. It revolves around Angel Nieto, the circuit being named after him.
Yeah.
It's not just symbolic.
It's a real tribute.
It is. It honors his massive impact on Spanish biking. He wasn't just a multi-time champion. He was the guy who inspired generations, kicked off this incredible national passion. You feel that history there.
You really do. It gives the whole event an extra layer. Okay, let's pivot to the championship picture your sources painted. It's unexpected, as we said.
Well, yeah. The stats behind Marc's current form are pretty compelling. Your notes point out he's got the most wins, most poles.
And the only race he didn't win, he basically said was his own mistake while leading.
Right. Leading comfortably, too. To do that so soon on a new bike, that's a huge statement. Real dominance.
Well, then you got Bagnaia. Jerez is his turf, isn't it? He considers it his track.
3 wins in a row there definitely backs that up. He loves Jerez. So you can feel that added pressure on him now, surely.
Yeah, it sets up this great dynamic. Marc's got the momentum, maybe the fastest overall package right now. But Pecco's on firm ground, a place he knows how to win.
Exactly. Can he push back? Can he defend his territory? Especially now, the bike excuse, let's call it, is mostly gone. The stakes for Bagnaia feel particularly high this weekend.
Which makes thinking about last year's Jerez race even more interesting. Even on the older GP23, Marc made it a proper fight. What really stood out for you looking back at that one?
Just how competitive he was. I mean, Martin had that unfortunate crash while leading.
Yeah.
And yeah, took the win, obviously. But Marc's charge towards the end, it was relentless. Making those passes in the Nieto-Paluqui section, which is famously difficult.
Super tough corners.
Exactly. It gave us this huge hint of what he might be capable of with the latest bike.
And didn't people wonder if maybe he'd used up his tires too much making that recovery? That maybe it cost him a real shot at Pecco right at the very end?
That was definitely the question afterwards. Did that massive effort early on leave him with nothing left for the final laps? Last year showed these flashes of brilliance from Marc, It hinted at what could happen if the bikes were equal.
Yeah, it really fueled the what if. That near miss on older kit really ramped up the anticipation for this year.
Totally.
Okay, so here we are, the identical machinery showdown. This is the main story, right?
Absolutely. This is what everyone's talking about because it levels the playing field. GP24 versus GP24.
Any difference we see now?
Yeah.
It's mostly down to the riders, their skill, their style on the day.
Pretty much. I mean, setup will play a part, of course, but the fundamental machine is the same. The technical excuse is basically gone.
And like you said, how the win happens matters. If Marc just scrapes a win, that still says a lot about Bagnaia's ability to fight him.
For sure. A close race means Pecco is right there, pushing him all the way. But if one of them dominates, if one pulls away easily,
then we get a much clearer answer about last year, about how much difference the bike actually made.
I think so, yeah. Was Marc massively overperforming on the GP23, or was the gap maybe smaller than some thought?
This race should give us a much better idea, a clearer verdict, you could say.
And you can't ignore what this means for Bagnaia's legacy either. If Marc starts consistently beating him on the same bike.
Oh, yeah. It could change how people see their achievements, couldn't it? The pressure on Pecco is immense. Reigning champ, his favorite track, facing this resurgent Marc on the same bike.
He needs a strong showing.
Definitely. Yep. It's about proving he's top tier, regardless of any perceived bike advantage. And for Marc, another chance to just stamp his authority, show he's still, well, Marc Marquez. Well, let's talk about Marc's mindset then. Coming back to Jerez, leading the championship. It's a massive turnaround from where his injury problem started, right at this track.
Oh, hugely symbolic. There's a definite redemption arc potentially playing out here if he wins at Jerez. Wow. That would be massive for him personally, closing that difficult chapter that began with the crash here.
And his ability just to get back to this level after everything, it's incredible.
Testament to his drive, absolutely.
And your sources mentioned something interesting about his riding style evolving, something about using two different styles, noticed after Qatar. What are we actually seeing?
Well, looking at the footage, it seems like he's getting better at sort of saving corners when the entry isn't perfect. It looks a bit more like his old Honda style, maybe.
How so?
Using the rear brake more, perhaps, to help pivot the bike, tighten the line if he runs a bit wide. It's a subtle shift from how he looked maybe at Jerez last year, where he sometimes seemed to struggle to keep it tight.
Ah, okay. That suggests he's getting more confident, more adaptable on the Ducati.
I think so, yeah. Finding those old instincts again.
Interesting. And one source compared it to Dani Pedrosa, saying they both really focus on the exit by being meticulous on the entry.
Yeah, it's that idea of preparation, understanding that how you go in dictates how you come out, especially somewhere like Jerez with his technical corners. Both are just incredibly precise riders.
So, thinking about the Jerez layout,
yeah,
where could this slightly different style help Marc?
Those quick lefts probably, turn 7 and 8, that complex, and the double left in T3. Those have always been strong points for him historically. His ability to carry speed through there could be key.
Okay. And the flip side, any potential weak spots at Jerez for him?
Maybe the faster flowing right-handers, like turns 11 and 12, corners where you need pure high corner speed, that could be more challenging.
But didn't one source suggest his ability to ride with the throttle open might help even there? Using the engine to stabilize things?
That's a possibility, yeah. He does have that skill. It might mitigate some of the challenge in those faster sections.
And your notes mentioned historical sector times.
Yeah.
2017 to 2024. What did they show?
Consistently strong in T1 and T3 for Marc across those years. It just reinforces that those parts of the track really suit his style.
Right. Okay, let's switch focus to Pecco. Strengths at Jerez are obvious, those 3 wins.
Yeah.
But the pressure.
Oh, the pressure's huge. It's his territory, as he calls it. And now he has Marc right there on the same bike, yes, to perform. He needs to, well, find that little bit extra to consistently beat Marc now.
He needs to make a statement.
Exactly.
And what about Alex Marquez? He's been really impressive this season on the factory spec bike. How does his performance fit in?
Well, you could argue Alex doing so well on the GP24 kind of validates what Marc did on the older GP23 last year, doesn't it?
How do you mean?
It shows the GP23 was still a very, very good bike, if ridden well, which just underlines Marc's skill in getting so much out of it, but it also shows the strength of the whole Ducati package now.
Good point. Okay, briefly on the tech side, Ducati testing, Aero 25, a new chassis. What's the latest there?
Yeah, reports suggest Pecco was pretty happy with a new 25 chassis in testing. And visually, you can spot differences between the Aero 24 and 25 packages' inlet shapes, mainly. And interestingly, there might be different swing arms in use, too. Marc and maybe Di Gian Antonio on a 25 spec, while Pecco might be sticking with the 24.
So even though they're on the same GP24, there could still be these subtle technical variations between the factory riders.
Absolutely. We don't know for sure what exact spec they'll run for the race weekend. It just adds another little layer of complexity, another variable to watch.
Definitely. So looking bigger picture again, championship implications. What happens if, say, Marc dominates this weekend?
Psychologically, that could be a massive blow for Pecco's title defense. And obviously, points gap would grow. This race really feels like a benchmark. It'll give us a much clearer idea of the true pecking order for the rest of the season.
Okay. And finally, other factors, things that could mix it all up.
Well, tires. Always tires. Michelin's allocation and how it suits the Jerez track, different bikes, different styles. It's huge.
And the weather, obviously. Always a potential wild card.
Always. And the sprint race. Pecco hasn't always looked strongest in the sprints, has he? That could be another opportunity for Marc or someone else.
Yeah, good point. And we are focusing a lot on Marc and Pecco, but we can't forget the others. Alex Marquez, Jorge Martin. Could easily be a spoiler.
Or someone else entirely. The talent runs so deep in MotoGP right now, you just never know who might pull out a stunning performance on the day.
Absolutely right. Okay, so let's wrap this up. Jerez, it's loaded with meaning this year. That head-to-head, Marc versus Pecco, same bike. That's the absolute core of it.
It is. So as you're watching everything unfold, practice, quali, the sprint, the main race, keep a close eye on them. How close are they on track? How are they riding differently? Any visible tech differences? It's a real test.
A litmus test, yeah. And think beyond just this race weekend, too. Consider what the results might mean long-term. For the championship this year, sure, but also maybe for rider moves next year, for how Ducati develops the bike.
Yeah, exactly. What if this weekend really does signal a proper shift, a real disruption to the established order? It's going to be fascinating to watch.